Welcome to Fancounters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are all over social media by searching Fancounters Live on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also visit our Facebook page by searching Fancounters. And we would really appreciate if you'd share our show with your friends. Let them know we've got some good stuff coming up. We don't want them to miss it either. And all of your shares certainly help us build our audience and our community of social media. And you can interact with us if you want on social media or email us privately at hello@fancounters.com. Now that we got all that out of the way.
Yes.
Baseball season started this month.
I know. It's your favorite.
It is my favorite.
I know.
Now, I don't know if this is a getting old thing or not.
This will be good.
But I've got a lot of problems with going to baseball games. I got a lot of complaints.
What's the story, Morning Glory?
I built a top 10 list of things that are bothering me this year about the baseball season.
Oh, for the love of God.
I'm
Your
serious.
goal in life is to be at every stadium in the country.
I've only got 2 to go, Colorado and Oakland. I'll be coming for you hopefully this year. Yeah, but I'm having a lot of problems here. Maybe it's just Miller Park in general, where the Brewers play. This is probably at every stadium, too, some of these. So can I just go through this list and get it off my chest?
It.
Okay, here we go. These aren't in any order. These are the just 10 random thoughts I had while I went to the first 3 games of the season. Okay, so they have these security guards in these red shirts that are in the stands, but then between innings, they'll come onto the field and watch the crowd.
Oh, yeah, that's so the crowd doesn't step on the field.
If I'm going to go on the field, I'm going to go on when the game's going on. Do you think I'm going to run on the field in between innings? Why would you do that?
Well, you never know.
No, I do know. It would not happen. It wouldn't happen.
Maybe some guy wants to run down and propose to his girl.
The Brewers scoreboard features a stat called OPS in the spot where they used to have the batting average. So, they'll show the lineups on the scoreboard.
Sure.
Next to each person's name, they show their position.
Right.
And then this stat called OPS, which is on-base percentage plus slugging, which tells you nothing. What you really want to know is their batting average. So I hear idiots behind me going, oh, wow, he hits really good. It's like 717. And it's like, that's not his batting average. That is a meaningless stat. So my brother came up with a stat called the oops and ouch stat. So that would be the amount of times a player makes an error plus how many times he gets hit by a pitch.
Oh, okay.
Completely as usable as this OPS stat.
Okay.
See what I mean? I'm getting grouchy.
I hear that. You're going to need to let it go, baby. It's
All right.
just baseball.
Here's number 3. Not every stadium does this, but if you come to Miller Park and you go to a game, they must think that we have very short attention spans because they play music almost in between every single pitch.
Yes.
I'm like, give it a rest. I'm trying to have a conversation here.
That happens at every sporting event.
Not every stadium, though. Like Wrigley Field in Boston, they have 2 separate. I know Wrigley Field is in Chicago.
Yeah.
But those 2 stadiums in particular, I know, are quite silent experiences, which thumbs up for that.
All right, then.
All right, number 4, Major League Baseball moved to have Coke at all the stadiums this year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It is awesome.
I love Coke.
Except for the fact that there's 6 of them not participating. One of them
is ours.
Miller Park. Still got that Pepsi. Number 5. The Brewers are selling this unlimited standing room only pass. It's a pass. You pay $29.99 and you can get it at every game all month long.
All month long.
All month long.
Okay.
For $29.99 a month. Problem is it's standing room only seats. So you know where those people are headed, right? Any open seat, which means if you have a ticket for that seat, it's constantly, oh, you're in my seat.
Okay.
Do you get that, though?
I do.
I mean,
it's like your little movie experience.
because people are not going to stand.
In the wrong theater.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, this doesn't really bother me, but it's kind of like something I think people should stop doing. It's kind of like fashion do's and don'ts. It bothers me to see all these people wearing these old player jerseys and T-shirts of players that don't even play for the Brewers anymore. I mean, one of my favorite games actually is to go to the game and try and make field a team out of all the old shirts that I see, like Prince Fielder or...
Yeah, but I have a Fielder shirt because I'm not going to buy a new one. I'm there to support the Brewers, and from the front, it tells you I'm a Brewer fan. I don't care what's on the back.
And from the back, it says I'm too cheap to buy a new shirt.
I am too cheap to buy a new shirt.
Let's talk about margaritas. 2 years ago, they would cost...
Like in the can?
No, they cost $10 in a keepsake cup, the frozen margarita.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Awesome deal, right? Now, last year, they went to $11, plastic cup, throwaway cup.
Okay.
So they raised it $1 and took away my keepsake cup.
Huh.
This year, they're $12 for the exact same margarita.
No cup.
Of course, no cup. All right, we're almost there, folks. Number 8, the Playland in the very upstairs area.
Yeah.
The Brewers also had an awesome slide area with lots of slides and climbing things and all this huge jungle gym. They took it down and replaced it with practically nothing. In fact, it looks like Bernie Brewer is sliding on a pile of poop.
Oh, no.
It looks like a little rabbit poop that he's sliding on, like for dirt. But, I mean, there's really nothing to do up there now. So my kids were very disappointed. Okay, I'll go through these last two.
Did you complain to the management?
I asked, and they're like, well, it's really hard to clean those things, and there was almost an injury every game.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right, number 9. Last year they introduced Kids Eat Free on Sundays. So if you took your kids to the baseball game on Sunday, you got a free hot dog and a free drink, like a little mini bottle of water and an ice cream, whatever. Now it's only free ice cream.
No.
They took it away. The Kids Eat Free. And the last thing. Major League Baseball has an initiative to keep the pace of the game moving. So they limit how many times a catcher or a manager or a coach can visit the mound.
Okay.
Now what we get is the catcher standing in front of home plate doing all these signs. It doesn't save any time because he's standing out there for at least 10 or 20 seconds doing these stupid signs. All right, I'm done.
Okay, I need you to let it go.
I am now that everybody knows.
Okay, then. Because you know what? Baseball is supposed to be fun.
Oh, it is fun.
And there's no crying in baseball.
Right.
So let it go.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go, guys. Thanks for listening to my little baseball rant. It made me feel better now that 30,000 more people know about it.
And now my head hurts.
I know. So over the last couple months, audiences have been raving about the film Love, Simon. And we went and saw the movie and immediately knew there was something unique about this movie. Today on the show, we're going to talk to Clark Moore, who plays Ethan in Love, Simon.
Clark is originally from Atlanta and now lives in L.A. And besides starring in one of 2018's biggest blockbusters, he has also been seen on Glee and NBC's The Sing-Off. Today we're going to talk about the movie Love, Simon and learn more about this upcoming superstar. Here is Clark Moore.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters, the podcast.
You need to come to Hollywood. I'm going to make you famous.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
And they pull out of their backpack dozens and dozens and dozens of pictures of my face and tell me to sign all of them.
Are you kidding me?
I continually will get stopped.
Can I take a picture? We're going to, oh my God.
I definitely declined signing body parts.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
I'm the only one that's ever spit on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Clark, welcome to Fancounters. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now Elizabeth and I, we don't get to do this often, but we did go to the movie to see Love, Simon together because I said, we're going to do the show. We have to see the movie and we should do it together so we can talk about it after and we know what we thought about it. So Love, Simon's currently in theaters. And what I didn't know when I saw the movie is it was based on a book called Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Did you know that there was a book when you auditioned for the film?
Yeah, and that was actually my first touch point, I would say, for the world of Simon. It's I hadn't read the book when I was first auditioning. I didn't read it until after I got the part because I didn't want to jinx it. So I was aware of the book, and I was also aware of its success amongst sort of this world of, teenagers coming of age in high school. And it's one of the only books of its kind as far as I'm aware. So it sort of had a big impact. And that's what made me really excited to jump into the film.
Now, your character, Ethan, was written specifically for the film and isn't part of the book. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And then did you have any discussion with the writers or directors about how important it was to add a comfortably gay teen to the film?
Yeah, I think nothing so formal as sort of like why they wanted to include it or how they came to it. The conversations we had were more sort of along the lines of getting me to the place of understanding how my character fit into this world since I didn't have the source material that the other actors had.
Right.
So sort of like explaining how he relates to Simon, how he exists in this world with these characters that I did come to know through reading the book. And I'm so glad that they did add him to the movie, not only because it gave me a job, but also because I think it adds a nice color to the film, sort of showing that we have similar experiences. We have a lot in common, but also, gay people come in all shapes and sizes and colors, and the experience is as diverse as we are as a community.
What was it like for you to audition for the film? Talk us through the audition process.
Yeah, it was it was very traditional. I got my agents just sort of sent me an email saying, the breakdown, the role, what the film was. They might have even mentioned that it was a book. And then they just sent me one scene, I think it was, and I had to put myself on tape. And then I sent that in, and then there was a callback a couple of weeks later, and I was supposed to actually, funnily enough, I was supposed to fly to Atlanta for the callback, but I was in LA at the time. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get to Atlanta. Greg, the director, was actually crisscrossing. He passed me physically where I was on the way to the airport. Oh, wow. And I was like, okay, how am I going to catch Greg in order to get into this movie? So he flew to LA, and then they were just like, just come in, chat with the LA casting office. We had a very casual conversation on tape. I read the two scenes and then sent it off. And I kid you not, the whole time I was like, there's no way I booked this role. It felt so special. And it felt like a dream that, that there's no way this 1 in a million dream comes true. And then it did. 2 weeks later, I was on set in Atlanta. It was crazy.
Wow, that was very fast.
Yeah, and I want to know...
It was an insane turnaround.
When you say on tape, are they actually still using tapes, or are we digitally doing these with phones and just shooting them places?
It wasn't like film tape, but it was a digital camera that they set up sort of, But it's funny because you'd think, you'd think you'd use an iPhone, or you'd think you'd use something more accessible, but they use these camcorders. Yeah, they put them up on a tripod, and it's super, it's almost like it hasn't changed in the past 10 years, very traditional feeling. And they press that little button and the red light's on, know.
Well, and I wondered, and I was going to ask kind of the same question, but just a little bit different, and you answered it. Is somebody else helping you do this tape, or when people are saying, yeah, I had to put myself on tape, are they doing it themselves,
Yeah. So when we're putting ourselves on tape, it was like a little bit of both. In this case, it was the first time I did it, I had to set my whole thing up myself. I have a person that I work with here in LA who has a little studio dedicated to self-tape. Mm-hmm. And so I went into her office, and she has a wall that's painted green, and she has her own camera and microphone situation. But yeah, it's basically just two people who are not at all associated with the film in a room, me and the other person. And then I do my part, I read my lines, and then she reads the lines that of my scene partner in the scene. And then we sort of cut it together in iMovie and email it in and hope for the best.
Okay.
But that's, I think, what's sort of becoming the norm now is, iPhones, there's the quality can be sort of sometimes it's great, sometimes it's serviceable, but you sort of want to remove as many barriers between you and the job, I wouldn't want to not get it because I filmed it on a phone that for whatever reason the lighting wasn't good, or the quality. So people are really stepping it up these days with the quality of the self-tapes.
Yeah, because the audio on an iPhone, the video's great, the audio's never going to be good. So not as good as a mic.
You're sort of dependent on the natural light as well, which, it shifts throughout the day, and sometimes you have a shadow, and so you try to control the controllable if you can.
So the star of the film, Nick Robinson, he's best known to us for his role as Ryder Scanlon. He was on the sitcom Melissa and Joey. So with him being the star in the film, you found him to be very chill, and I heard your answer to this question in another interview, but for our audience, I think it's entertaining to hear what you said. So how did he make everybody feel at ease?
Yeah, I think he just sort of has this, this self-assuredness within himself. And if he doesn't, he plays it off very well. He's very calm and very and confident in what he's doing, but not in a cocky way. So he's sort of just he made it clear from the beginning, just in his physicality and the way that he sort of interacted with the crew and the cast and everyone, that it was sort of, level playing field. We had these chairs that had all of our characters' names on them, and ostensibly for us to sit in our own chair.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And he was very much like, sit anywhere. Someone was sitting in his chair at one point and they jumped up and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he's like, no, please, like, sit in that chair. I'll sit over here. So it was very just like calm and chill. And it created this environment where I just felt really safe. And I felt happy to be there. It was one of those work environments that you dream of.
Yeah, it sounds unusual because that's not really a normal treatment from a leading star. I don't think that's a very common experience.
Certainly not what you hear of. You hear of these like divas and these people who are like screaming and yelling and like, where's my coffee? Like that kind of thing. And he could not have been more opposite. And he was always very interested in, asking me about my life and what do you do in LA and where are you from? He was very curious and inquisitive and a really generous scene partner.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Atlanta,
okay,
which is where the movie is based and where we shot, which is nice. And so I was sort of able to spend some time at home with my family. But I actually live in LA now.
I think because I was a huge fan of Melissa and Joey. I believe because we watched this poor kid grow up through his teenage awkward years. And I have to believe that Joey and Melissa were both very generous people, that I think that helps. That, he had his first experience in a very caring environment and then perpetuates that when he goes out and does other things. And I think that's just a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that way. And he just sort of exudes positivity and generosity. So couldn't have asked for a better number one, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So when you finally saw the film, do you think that Nick pulled off the role of Simon, who is a guy who knows he's gay, but he's not sure he wants everybody else to know yet? Did he do that in a realistic way for you?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I was floored when I saw it. I wasn't really, I had seen Jurassic World, and I had seen Everything, because it came out right after we shot, right after I finished what I was shooting on Simon.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sort of aware of what he could do, and I was already a fan, but I was shocked with sort of how he transformed into this role, and he really spoke to some things that are specific to the gay community. And obviously he is as a person, he identifies as straight. So it was really interesting to see the way he crafted this narrative. And I think he knocked it out of the park, honestly.
We did too.
I completely agree.
Yeah, we did too.
I could feel his emotion, even though I didn't go through that experience, but you could relate.
So your character, Ethan, has a huge amount of confidence of who he is in the film. Where do you think we are in middle school and high school in regards to the acceptance of people who are gay?
I think it really is situational. Because I know for me, growing up in Atlanta, you'd think that, or rather, I actually had both experiences. I went to schools that were really conservative when I was younger, and I was bullied, I was teased, I was picked on. And then I also went to a school sort of for my junior high and high school years that was the opposite side of the political spectrum, and it was, the most liberal space you could ever imagine. And so I was very lucky and fortunate to have a great sort of family life and supportive community at school, but I recognize that everyone doesn't have that. They didn't then, and they still don't now. So I think it really depends on, where you are. A lot of sort of like the more, I think the more urban areas, big cities tend to obviously lean left in general. And so I think for kids in those spaces, it's probably a little bit easier. But there's and I think this is why this film is so successful, there's a whole section of the country, whether it's, you think about it in the middle or you think about it in the places that lean more right historically, that just haven't been exposed to these kinds of conversations or to these kinds of stories. And there's a lot of talk about the normalization of the gay experience. And I think that's really important because while some of us have progressed far beyond even considering homosexuality a taboo, there is an entire half, if not more, of our country that's still grappling with that and still has really strong feelings about it in the negative way. So I think I can't obviously speak to sort of how middle schoolers or high schoolers are sort of experiencing their lives today, but it sounds like from the DMs that I'm getting and from the the comments on my Instagram posts, it sounds like they're still struggling. It sounds like they're still feeling this burden of coming to terms with who they are, first of all, and then expressing that to the people who they love most.
Okay. Because I do notice that I happen to have some extremely close gay friends. They're married and they have 2 children. And my children find that to be completely normal because obviously it's part of their everyday life. We go over and see.
Right.
We go over and see them and it's not a big deal. And, as we continue to tell my children, it's about love. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're a boy or girl. It just happens to be who you fell in love with. And that particular couple has been together as long as my husband and I have, which is almost 20 years. So obviously it's a successful partnership. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what label you're putting on it, as far as we're concerned, that is a successful family unit, and it doesn't, and for my kids. But I do know that my son will still come home and say, people were saying so-and-so was doing this, or he'll ask me what words are that I think are inappropriate or not nice.
Right.
And we do have conversations about it going, well, would you go over to Nadia and her dad and say to them that they're doing something wrong? And he's always like, no. So I think as this next generation starts coming out, I'm hoping that the tolerance level is significantly higher than it is now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that also speaks to, just like the natural, coming of age. And I think we all sort of, even within the realm of, not outside of homosexuality, just sort of like hearing cuss words for the first time, or thinking about sexuality in general. It's all very confusing. And this concept of, this person that used to just be my friend on the playground, now I have some sort of attraction to them that feels more than the way I feel towards my other friends.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? It's a really complicated thing.
I think being a teenager is hard all over the place.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's really weird that we're sitting here in 2018 having this conversation, Clark, with you, who is in a movie. And I know that this is a subject matter, but it just feels really weird that, I think, you're in your 20s and this is the conversation that you feel like you have to have. That just seems very weird to me.
Oh, but
Yeah.
My favorite scene in the film was that montage of the straight people coming out to their parents.
We were laughing so hard.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. And
that's so cute.
So glad that was in the movie. And so we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I really hope that we're almost to the point where coming out is going to be just as easy as saying, hey, I'm straight. Because the dad's reaction to Simon, I was completely over the top. Like, I couldn't relate to that at all. If my children should not have, they won't have a hard time if they have to come out, and say, hey, I like girls. Well, okay, good for you, dear. It's, not really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So,
let's make some tacos. That's pretty much it's pretty much how I'd like those conversations to go.
Yeah, all right, let's go get pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, all right. Thanks for telling me. Move on.
So
yeah, I hope we're close to that. I really do.
What do you think? And this is kind of a hard question, but what do you think we need to do to make that easier? Is it just education? Is it the more that people, like Elizabeth said, with her kids being involved in a situation with a loving gay couple, is it that, does that need to happen for other people to see it, for this to be accepted, or is this going to go on forever, do you think?
Really good question. I really hope it doesn't go on forever.
Right.
I think what I love also about this film, though, is that it provides that education that you were talking about. I think I know a lot of parents who have told me over the years, just saying, they have never had an issue with homosexuality, and they never even thought once when their kid came out to them that it made them a lesser person, or that they looked at them differently. But also, what do you say to that? Like, a lot of times when a person is coming out to you, like, just like in the movie, you don't expect it, and so And I think there's a lot of baggage sort of wrapped up within homosexuality that we still haven't processed as a culture. We still haven't quite, there are still subsets of the population that believe that HIV and AIDS are exclusively associated with the gay community,
Right.
and that it's also a universal gay experience. And there's also a lot of fear wrapped around HIV and AIDS in general. There's still a lot of research that has to be done, and there's a lot of people who don't understand that living with HIV today is not the same as 20, 30 years ago, where it was a death sentence. Now we're far beyond that. The science has progressed so far. But these are conversations that are hard to have, and so I think people just don't have them. And so what I think this film does is that it provides people, the ones who do want to be there for their kids, who want to say the right thing, it provides them with a little bit of a template of how you can do that, how these conversations can go well. Because so much of coming out it's this fear that the person has that when they tell you this, they're going to be seen differently. And I think that's probably the only thing that parents need to know, especially if their kids are about to come out, or, if there's even an inkling or possibility. The only response that you sort of need to have, you don't have to have an over the top, you don't have to throw a party, I guess you could if you wanted to. But just saying, I love you. I see you. I love you. And I think the thing that's really important is I accept you for who you are, not in spite of it. You know?
Yep.
I think that's the really big piece.
Yeah, we do at our house the mantra every night. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, I will always love you. And we say it every single night to each of the kids, so that they realize if you mess up, or if you're not sure of something, or you think no matter what you say and no matter what you do, we will always love you. And it's hard because you've mentioned in various interviews that you came out to your friends and parents when you were in junior high. So leading up to that, up to those conversations, what do you think was going through your head? And do you think you made it worse than it was, or you made it better than it was, or?
I definitely made it worse, which is sort of my tendency. I have been riddled with anxiety from day one. So I tend to blow things out of proportion, but I sort of the lead up to coming out to my parents, I started coming out to my friends in 6th or 7th grade, and then trickled. I wasn't officially fully out to the world and to my parents and everyone until probably freshman year of high school. And what I was thinking about that whole time was just, what are they going to say? Are they going to be mad? Are they going to try to change me? Just the unknown. I found that really stressful and incredibly scary.
Okay.
And then also over time, the same way that you see Simon's dad make these comments that are homophobic, but that doesn't make him homophobic,
Sure.
We see that throughout the whole film, where it's he makes a joke at a gay person's expense, but he doesn't mean anything by it. He doesn't realize that what he's doing is having an impact on his closeted son. And so I had sort of similar experiences with that with my family and friends as well, where, they would make a joke, or they would say something that was funny about a gay person or at a gay person's expense, not even realizing that it was offensive, or realizing that I was paying any attention to it at all. And so I built up a handful of moments over the course of years in my head as sort of being this is telling me that they're not going to support me. But then when I finally worked up the courage, I think I just had a moment where I realized I couldn't live this double life anymore. I couldn't dodge the conversations about who are you dating, or sort of why are you, and I would always say I'm focused on my schoolwork. I'm not interested in girls. I'm interested in doing well in school. And I just got to a point where I was so tired of doing that. And so I just told them, and they were so loving and they were so supportive.
More often than not, Hollywood is casting 20-somethings to play high school kids. It was one of the reasons why I never watched Glee, because I never bought it, What was it like going back to high school for you to play Ethan and love Simon?
It was such a mind trip. It was sort of crazy. I was I was back in Atlanta. I was going to high schools that I had spent time at when I was in high school. And I was living at home. I was in my childhood bedroom, which is pretty much untouched. And I was having to ask my parents, can I borrow the car to go to set? It felt very high school. And I am not a method actor at all. So it was like a little bit too real for me.
That's funny.
That would be very surreal.
We love the little behind-the-scenes moments or exclusives that our guests can give us. Are there any off-camera moments that stick out in your mind, maybe that you haven't even told anybody about yet, that you can tell us about the making of Love, Simon?
One of the things that was really fun about it was that we had a script, obviously, written by Isaac Aptaker and Elizabeth Berger that was amazing. Great words and great sort of like, if you just read it word for word, it would be perfect. But they also gave us a lot of freedom where we do each take a couple times the way it was written, and then they would ask us to sort of improv. And especially me, Greg was always having me sort of like go crazy or say something funny or just like anything that came to mind. And one thing that was sort of just an experience that had me over the moon and that I was raving about that I'm still raving about to today was that I got to do some improv with Tony Hale, who plays the vice principal in the movie. And he's, really, really great in Veep, and he's funny in Arrested Development. And so I've been a huge fan of his for a long time. And we did the scene a couple times, and then Greg was like, okay, Tony, just you and Clark just go ahead and improv. And I was like, what?
Wow, that's awesome.
Improv with Tony Hale. And then we did for like a couple of takes. We just went back and forth and said some really, really funny stuff. And it was an amazing experience. So I hope that it gets included in one of the in the extras or the bloopers or something, because it was really fun.
So some of that stuff didn't make the film.
No, none of the crazy. We went out there when we had us improv in that one scene. None of that made it in. It was pretty close to how it was written, but there were a couple of versions that were really, really, really funny.
Besides those improv outtakes, did you have scenes that you filmed that were cut for the film?
No, actually, I think the opposite. They actually added me to a lot more scenes than I was originally supposed to be in, and yeah, they were so generous to me. The way they cut, sort of like cut to Clark moments is what I've been calling them. A lot of reaction shots, a lot of just sort of solidifying Ethan as a member of this tribe and sort of like a known figure of this community.
I'm going to probably be the first one to admit that using descriptive words like feminine to describe gay men is really weird. And when I read that word was used to describe you in other interviews, is that word okay with you, or what do you think when you hear that?
It's interesting because that's the other piece about Ethan that has been a little bit tricky to navigate. I have always personally been described as effeminate or sort of flamboyant, and the reason why those words are charged for me is because historically they've been used pejoratively. They've almost always been used sort of as a critique of my behavior or my physicality or how I sort of exist in the world. But I also recognize that currently it seems like there's this movement. I know as we sort of unpack what gender means and sort of what gender expression means and who gets to wear what clothes or who gets to express what aspects of their identity, some people, it seems like they identify with those terms almost like they've appropriated them, sort of how we did with the word queer, where it used to be derogatory, it used to only be a slur, and now it's sort of an identity that people embrace.
Yeah, see, I still think that's a slur. It feels negative, very negative
but
to me.
I was a
would
big
never say
fan
that
of
word.
the queer eye for the straight guy, and I guess it's one of those words that doesn't even register to me anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the thing that we're grappling with as a community is what words are the right words to describe how we feel, and how we present and how we exist in the world. I don't use those words for myself, but a lot of people, and that's one of the things that's funny about Ethan, since he's a smaller character in the larger arc of the film, he's a little bit more vague. He doesn't have as much of a fleshed out backstory. We don't go deep into his identity. We don't sort of hear how he describes himself.
Right.
We don't hear the descriptive words he uses. And so a lot of people have sort of projected their experiences onto him. And I love that. That means that they're able to see themselves in this film through this character.
Right.
And I also love that I don't have to, as the actor, I don't have to make any hard and fast decisions about how Ethan identifies. He's sort of open-ended at the moment, and that sort of creates this opportunity for conversation.
Well, one of the things that I do want to just touch briefly on, and it shouldn't be also, it's not also a big deal, is that I happen to have an African American daughter, and so you're African American, I'm believing, and do you find that makes it like a double-edged sword? Because one of the things that we spend a lot of time with my daughter with is trying to understand the history of the African American culture and how far it has come, but how far it still has to go. And so do you feel that being both Black and gay gives you like too many strikes against you? Or do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I was going to
it's hard.
I was going to say, when you're auditioning, do you find that the stereotypes are because of the color of your skin or your sexual orientation, or is it a combination of both?
It's usually a combination, and then also there's the fact that we're having a conversation about diversity in Hollywood, diversity and inclusivity in Hollywood right now. It's sort of the hot button topic. It's a conversation that we're spending a lot of time on for the past couple of years, and how do we change the landscape of Hollywood, the stories that we're telling, the people that we're representing. But of course, oftentimes that when you're sort of building it out from the back end, it's less about the creative, and it's more about quotas, and it's more about, okay, how many people of color are in this project? How many women? How many LGBT people? And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times they look at those identities in sort of a single capacity. So a Black person, a woman, a gay person, and they don't really look at the intersectionality of those.
Right.
So you can be all of those people. You can be a Black lesbian.
Right.
But in terms of building out a show, there are people who feel like by sort of representing that story, they're then piling all of their minorities that they have to fit into the show into one character, and then they can't, they feel like they can't explore these other ones. And so what often happens is they choose the one. And so I haven't been chosen. I'm usually not chosen as the Black guy, because the Black guy, usually the sort of archetypical Black guy, is maybe a little bit more athletic, more masculine, more sort of that guy that we think of.
Sure.
And then the gay guy has typically gone to sort of white actors. And so that's what's been difficult for me, is living in that in between, from a Hollywood perspective. Until this film, there haven't really been roles for me or spaces for me to inhabit.
Okay.
And that's from the professional side. The personal side, there's this other aspect where within the gay community, I'm a minority because I'm Black. And then within the Black community, I'm a minority because I'm gay. So I sort of live as an outsider in both of my communities, and that also makes for a really interesting sort of navigation through life.
Right. Just looking for a tribe to hold on to, and it shouldn't matter. It should just all be one big group.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
Before we move on, we've got other questions we want to ask you about other things, but what impact, besides getting more jobs off of this role, because you did an amazing job, what impact do you hope the movie will have?
I hope it will change minds. I hope it will really help a generation of kids feel good about themselves. And I love that the name of the film is Love, Simon, because before we got, I think that happened maybe 3 or 4, maybe 6 months ago is when they changed it. But originally it was just sort of the same title as the book. And I love the title of the book, but I love that the word love is in the title of this film, because I think that's what it's all about, And I keep coming back to that over and over again with my own personal journey and through religion and spirituality and just life in general. I want to focus as much energy as possible on love, on spreading positivity, and I hope that this film is doing that. And so I've been getting text messages from, friends who I haven't spoken to in years, or childhood friends that I grew up with, or teachers that I had in elementary or junior high school, and they're all feeling that love very intensely, and so I just hope that it's spreading and spreading.
Well, I think that it was probably a very intentional name change. My 12-year-old son actually said to me, well, Mom, what does it mean? You know, like you and Nick went to go see this movie. What did Love, Simon mean? And I gave him the short synopsis of, you know, they were writing, and then ultimately he wrote Love, Simon. And my son Oliver was just like, well, that's just really cool, Mom. And I was like, well, thanks, because, you know, he could care less whether or not whether or not, you know, what are Nick and Mom doing, you know, now. But it was a very interesting conversation because he truly wanted to know what it meant, what Love, Simon meant.
Yeah.
Like he was like, are they loving Simon? Is it at the end of a letter? And so I think it was a very good name change.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much.
Now, you've been a performer since you were 7 years old, and I'm just curious, was there a magical moment where you're like, yep, this is what I want to do. This is the right fit for me?
There were a couple. I would say the reason why I ended up actually studying and actually sort of focusing any real attention on it was because my grandmother, she's always been an event planner, and she's always been really involved in her church in St. Louis and just like the larger community in general. And she would always have me recite poems at events when I was like, 4, 5, 6 even. I went to this kindergarten Montessori school that had us, for whatever reason, our teacher made us all memorize the I Have a Dream speech, which is a heavy speech to memorize as a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old.
Yeah. And it's
but
long.
I guess I did it. And then they had me perform it around. It sort of sent me on like a tour of churches and weddings, and basically anywhere where my grandmother was. It was like my party trick. I would do the I Have a Dream speech. And I think one time I'm told, I don't remember this, but I'm told I was at a solemn function, like maybe a funeral or maybe just like a
dignified event. Yes. Okay.
Something significant. Yeah. And I said the speech and it went really, really well. And my mom said she noticed a shift where my eyes just sort of lit up at the audience clapping. And then I started singing. I started singing some church hymn, I guess. And apparently it was really bad. And my mom was like, okay, this is the moment. If you're going to do this, we have to make sure you're going to do it well. And so that's when she enrolled me in classes and started, voice lessons and acting classes. And then the earliest moment I remember is when I was 7 at Performing Arts Camp. And they let me go away for a week as my first time spending an extended time away from any of my family. And I just loved every minute of it. Every dance class, mime class, juggling, clowning, every aspect of this performing arts camp that I did, I just loved it. And from there, it's always been full steam ahead towards acting.
So you made your television debut on NBC's The Sing-Off. Did you ever picture yourself on Broadway?
I would say that was the initial dream, yeah. TV and film to me felt so far off. It's funny because a lot of stuff shoots in Atlanta now. Like this movie, while we were shooting Love, Simon, I think Black Panther was in production, and a number of the Marvel movies, and then Stranger Things was also in production. So a lot of stuff is shooting down there now. But when I was growing up, there was nothing.
Right.
We had to drive hours to the nearest. I remember I was in like the final round callbacks for the movie Big Fish, or I had gotten pretty far along or something. And, I must have been 10 or 11. And I remember my mom driving for 3 hours to, I want to say Mississippi or somewhere like that, where we had to go for the callbacks. And that's how far out of our way we had to go to get work down in Atlanta at the time in TV and film. So I didn't even think of that as an opportunity or an option. But theater was always there. We were always going to see the shows that were coming through, the touring cast of whatever Broadway show. I was doing regional theater from when I was 12 or so, and sort of acting professionally in Atlanta in that capacity. So Broadway was the dream. Broadway was the only goal and the only dream. And then my a cappella group in college randomly got onto the Sing-Off, and we found our way out here. And I sort of caught that bug, going onto the Sony Studios lot and being on a sound stage and the cameras, and just realizing that where I can touch hundreds or thousands of people at a time in a theater. I can sort of over the course of, 8 shows a week and for a whole year or for 2 years, you can eventually reach tens of thousands of people. But on TV and film, you do it once and you can reach millions.
Right.
And sort of having that level of impact is something that's so important to me, because that's what I truly believe my purpose is, and what I find, what I'm sort of chasing is I want to have the most impact and change the most minds and lives as possible. And so TV and film sort of seems like the best way to do it at the moment.
When did you make the jump to LA?
I officially moved out here right after college, so 2013. And I've been here, it'll be, 5 years in July.
Wow.
Okay.
And have you had to have like regular jobs before you've gotten some of these roles, or?
When I first moved out here, I didn't have any other jobs. I was only doing acting. I was working at just sort of like in the day I would be writing and taking as many meetings as possible and trying to come up with ideas. And I was working on producing a film for a while, trying to get it financed and everything. And I was booking commercials and, booking things here and there that would sort of tide me over. And then I got to a point where I was just like, I need to do something else. I need some sort of form of steady income. And so I started working at Snapchat, and I was there for a while. And then, and so now I'm sort of transitioning back to the full-time acting thing.
Have auditions picked up for you since this film?
Yeah, and it's also weird because a lot of things have just started rolling in, where they used to be more traditional. They would send the audition, they would send the sides and everything. Now it's a little bit more like offers coming through and cool projects that have, that aren't as related to, not like a TV show or a film, but a cool like branded moment or a cool just sort of like narrative visual moment, whether it's a photo shoot or a video. And so I've done a lot of, in between shooting Simon and now, I've done a lot of little things here and there. And so I'm excited we have a couple of big things that are sort of circling, and I'm excited for one of those to land. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And you have a very unique dream role that you want to play. Tell our audience.
Oh, how I want to be a gay superhero?
Yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah, that I would say is, that's a big, big dream of mine.
Yeah, what's your superpower?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny,
whatever the writers tell you.
Sorry?
Oh, I said whatever the writers tell you it is.
Right.
Exactly. No, I'm not picky. As long as there's a paycheck on the other side of the superpower, I'm happy to take it on. I'm open to really anything. And I started digging into, a couple of years ago, I started digging into the Marvel universe and the DC universe as well, to see, did gay superheroes exist? Sort of in the vein of Black Panther, and realizing that outside of the Supermans and the Batmans and the ones that we know really well, there are all these other, hundreds of superheroes that we've never even heard of. And there's actually a handful of superheroes that have been written as gay over the past, 20 to 30 years. And so I'm really interested in sort of like looking into those opportunities and potentially developing one of those. And also, though, within the world of superheroes, even if I'm not the hero, if I'm sort of just the person, the tech person, or, someone who's in service of the hero, anything in that universe would be really, really thrilling to me, to be honest.
Since our podcast is called Fancounters, the question we always have to ask is, tell us about your most memorable fan encounter, or a nice or funny or awkward, or we've had some doozies, let me tell you. So tell me what your fan encounters look like.
Well, I actually just ran into someone yesterday. I was walking down the street in Venice, and this guy ran up to me and stopped me and was like, "Oh my gosh, I love you and Love Simon. I loved what you did." And he had this thick French accent, and he was like, "I'm so sorry, pardon my French," which I kept thinking was so funny. But then he was like, "I have to take a picture with you because my girlfriend is obsessed with the movie, and she will absolutely love that we ran into each other." And so we took a photo, and he went on, and it just sort of like put me into this weird space where I was like, I'm trying to figure out who the demo of this movie is, you know, like
Yeah.
who is watching it? Is it older? Is it younger? And I thought it was going to be these young sort of like teens, and, you know, in the like 13 to 18 range. And I think there's a lot of those for sure. But I've been surprised how many straight men in their 30s have come up to me and said, like, either they saw it themselves or they saw it with friends or with their girlfriends. And they've just been so moved by it. And I thought that wasn't quite crazy of an experience, but it definitely changed how I view the way the film is impacting people.
Yeah, our audience in our theater, I was sitting next to teenagers, but there were...
I had an older couple next to me.
Yeah, large.
And older in the fact that I'm 50. You know what I'm saying? So these were people in their 60s. And I know that Nick and I are huge movie goers. We go almost every week. And I know when I saw the trailer, I had added it to my list immediately. And then when you came up on our schedule, Nick's like, well, let's go see this movie. And I was like, yes, please, because it was on my list of ones I wanted to see to begin with.
So I think the audience is really varied.
Yeah, I don't think that, I think you'd have a hard time pocketing those people. Because I'm not sure that you're going to be able, if you were sitting in a theater that we were in, I'm not sure you'd have been able to go, oh my gosh, those are teenagers. That's a 40-something. That's a 50-something. These people next to me were the 60-something. And they enjoyed the film. I mean, I was waiting for some derogatory comment and nothing. Both of them were like, well, that was really good. You know, and I was like, good for you. You know, thanks for showing up.
I love that. I love that.
Any weird fan encounters that you've had, or anything like you're like, what was that, when they walk away?
I did have one guy. I think part of so I went to the movie theater to see a different movie. I went to go see Ready Player One last weekend, and I did not think about, when I was going to it, I didn't think about the fact that there would be a screening of Love, Simon happening like right next door
in the theater.
Oh, right.
What were you thinking?
Yeah, it was a little weird because I also didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to look like I was there just to be seen, you know, like that sort
like
of.
I wanted to go to the movies.
Did you see my movie? Yeah, I was in it. Did you see me? Want to take a picture? You know,
let's stand in the lobby and sign autographs.
Next to the poster, going, huh? Did you see it? Did you see it?
Exactly. So I was waiting, but the friend that I went to go see it with went to the restroom, and I was waiting for her. And this guy walked by and made eye contact with me, and he goes, "Blue?" And then he kept walking.
Oh.
And I was like, I looked around, and I was like, surely he's not talking to me. And I was so confused because I had just seen a completely different movie. And I was just like, what the heck? What just happened? And I didn't even think about it. And then maybe like 15 minutes later, as we were sort of like walking out, maybe like 5 minutes later, he walked up to me and he goes, "I'm so sorry. Were you in Love, Simon?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "I just loved you in the movie so much. And I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for that awkward experience 5 minutes ago. And I promise I'm not following you around. I just really wanted to tell you that your performance really impacted me." And then he made prayer hands and bowed to me and walked away.
Aww. See?
It's very strange.
The world is changing. It's just going to be a long time.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That is a surreal experience, to be in a movie and come out and be like, wait a minute, you were just
no way.
in this movie. Because that will never happen in Wisconsin where we are, but, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Not a
I think
common
it happens
occurrence.
quite a bit in L.A.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to go see movies.
Right.
I wanted to see the Ready Player One.
Okay, so on a side note, did you like it? Because my 12-year-old really wants to see it.
I loved it. I was honestly shocked. I had no expectations going in, and I was shocked. I really, really liked it.
Was it very violent?
Yes, but in like a video game way, you know? Because I can't really do gore. I can't really do violence.
Okay.
And it's violent, but in like a
video game way.
A way that feels separate from the real world.
Okay. Sorry. Carry on. Sorry. Side note.
So we searched Twitter using the hashtag #AskLoveSimon, and we found some great questions from fans that we thought we would ask you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So these are fan questions. I did not write these. So are you ready?
I'm nervous.
Oh, boy. All right. These are fun. Who is your hero?
My mom. My mom is my hero.
Oh, see, we love that. Good boy.
Does mom live in L.A. with you now, or is she still back in Atlanta?
I wish. I'm trying to get her and my dad to move out here. They've been in the house in Atlanta for probably 17 years, this one house that they've been in.
Mm-hmm.
And they're empty nesters now, and they're trying to move, but my mom is so picky. And so I'm trying to get her to move out to LA because, why not? It's a great place, and the weather's always amazing. But I don't know if I'll sway her yet. I haven't quite given up, though.
Okay. Get a TV series and then be like,
Yeah.
Mom, you got to come and be
I
in the
need your
audience
help.
and support me.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next one is, how long have you ever gone without sleep? Who wrote these questions?
Twitter.
Oh my gosh. Probably a day and a half. No
Okay.
more than like 34 hours.
Okay.
Okay. What cheers you up when you're down?
My dog, my little Labradoodle.
What's his
He makes me
name?
happy. His name is Beckett. He's mostly black with a little bit of white on his chest and on his paws, and he just turned 1 on my birthday. We actually share a birthday, March 15th.
Oh, that's
And those are the
nice.
little ones you can carry around everywhere, right?
No, that's
it's not?
It's a
He's-
medium-sized dog.
Oh,
He's a medium. Yeah, he's not. I should have gotten the mini. They come in the miniature version. They come in as if they're like a toy.
Yeah, it's not a candy
there
bar.
There are small ones.
It's not a candy bar.
But he is not.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of which, what is your favorite kind of Oreo?
I like double stuffed.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you try those weird icing flavors that they have?
Yeah, I don't like the I don't mind the Halloween ones because they taste the same. The color is just different.
Yeah.
But I don't like the birthday cake or the Oreos or
There
any
was
of
a
those. I'm not.
Peeps out for Easter. I didn't do it because I just couldn't get my head around it. That's what the flavor was in the Oreos for Easter.
Yeah, I'm a traditionalist. I like the plain.
Same.
But the other thing is,
I'm
I'm not going
very
to plop down $4 for a package of Oreos I might not even like.
Right.
Right.
Although
Yeah,
I did
that's
try,
real.
I did get some from Goodwill, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh.
For 99
What?
cents. Yeah, our Goodwill takes overstocks from Target. And at Christmas time, I got the red cinnamon Red Hots.
Ugh.
They were actually
Whoa.
quite good inside the Oreo. It was like
Whoa,
a
that's
nice little cinnamony, chocolatey thing going on. It was nice, actually. Okay, do you take the Oreos apart when you eat them, or do you eat them whole?
I do. I take them apart and I eat the icing out first, and then usually I'll do the cookies by themselves. But if I have milk, then I'll dip them in the milk.
All right. And you might be wondering why we're talking about Oreos. They are featured in Love, Simon. So go see the movie. You'll get it.
Okay.
All right. So now, Clark, you're ordering a pizza. What are you putting on it?
Okay. This is gonna. I actually was in Wisconsin a couple of years
No
ago, and it
way.
was the first time. Yes, it was the first time that I was there. I was on a tour with Adam Lambert. My friend Alex Newell was the opening act, and we went through Milwaukee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. I was like, let me not say the wrong place.
No, you're good.
Yeah, we're good.
So we went to Milwaukee, and we ordered a cheese pizza from Domino's, and that was a mistake because we didn't realize that there was going to be like extra cheese. We didn't even order extra cheese. We just sort of like the normal cheese pizza.
Yeah.
And it came, and it was the most decadent cheese pizza I've ever had in my whole life.
We're from
And-
Wisconsin, honey.
We do cheese.
I
Cheese
know,
is all we
I
do.
know. And you do it well. You
Yes,
do
we
it
do.
so well. So I would say probably that. If I'm allowing myself to have any pizza, if I can have any in the world, then I would have that pizza again. It was so amazing.
Okay.
All right.
Now, that Waffle House in the film, I said to Elizabeth both times it came on the screen, I said, that was the cleanest
Yes.
Waffle House I've ever seen
And
in
I'm
my
like,
life.
why are you looking
Right?
at the Waffle House? Could you focus on the movie?
Because I lived in Nashville, and I knew where all the Waffle Houses were, and none of them looked that good. I'll tell you that.
No, they never do. When you end up at Waffle House, especially at nighttime, it's sort of like last resort. You know, it's good. It's serviceable. It does what it's supposed to do, but it's not a magical experience by any means.
So what is your favorite breakfast restaurant? That's the question.
Honestly, and I pretty much get the same thing anywhere: eggs over medium with a side of bacon. So anywhere that can do some crispy eggs, and I like a thick cut bacon. So
Yes.
like a slab, not
Yeah.
like the crispy, crunchy.
Yeah.
So pretty much anywhere that has thick cut. Oh, and then sometimes a lot of restaurants in LA will do a maple glaze over a thick cut bacon
Oh, nummy.
to die for. Mm-hmm.
Okay, finally, what question do you never want to be asked again?
I don't think I've had any that have been asked too many times. I'm so at the beginning of my career at this point. Like, I'm just happy people are asking the questions.
Okay.
But let's circle back maybe after a couple more films, and I'm sure I'll have a long list.
Besides anything entertainment related, what other hobbies do you enjoy?
I love sailing. A friend of mine who actually doubles as my lawyer, which is great. And if there are any artists listening, if there are anyone who wants to be an actor or a performer or an artist of any kind, my number one sort of tip is to make friends with a lawyer early on.
Yes.
Because if they love you like mine does, then they will oftentimes do pro bono work for you. And he has saved me a number of times. But he also has this really amazing boat, and he docks it in Marina Del Rey. And every now and then we'll go out on the boat, and I love sailing so much. The Pacific Ocean is so nice and calm, and it's a great summer activity.
That is awesome. I wouldn't have guessed that about you. So, sailing. That might actually help you get a role, because if you're an actor that can sail, realistically,
yes,
you never know when that can come in handy.
Exactly. I can also drive a stick shift.
That is a skill everyone should have. Yeah. Where can we find you on social media, Clark?
I am at Mr. Clark Moore on every platform.
Mr. Clark Moore.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
That's me.
That's fantastic.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Our thanks to Clark Moore for joining us on the show today. That was a conversation probably more necessary to have than we imagine.
Yeah, a little bit heavier topic than we normally do.
Mm-hmm.
But, kudos for him, because I feel that pain when you don't have a tribe that you quite fit into.
Exactly.
And that's a tough gig. So great job. You're doing a great job out there, Clark.
Love, Simon is currently in theaters nationwide, so go to the theater and see it. And you can comment on our Facebook page if you want. Let us know what you thought of the movie, especially after hearing Clark talk about it. And if you want, you can email us and we can read your mail on the air. It's hello@fancounters.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram at FanCountersLive. Anything else, Elizabeth?
No, I think, we've got some cool guests coming down the pike.
Yes, we do. Next week, if you want to prepare for our show, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but if you start watching the USA series, USA Network has a series called Unsolved.
Mm-hmm.
The current one is the murders of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. We are going to have one of the actors from that series on the show next week.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that whole case in some detail. So that's what's coming up next week.
All right.
All right. Have a good weekend.
See ya. Bye.